Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is going to be Ken Shoulders number 15, and this is some information that Chris Baskar gave me during one of the interviews that I had with him. We also like to say that we're going to have another interview with him really soon here, Lacey and I. So I think we have Michael reading today. You can go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Ed. Teleportation using EVOs by Ken Shoulders, copyright 2007. Definition: in the use of the word teleportation, there is no intention of invoking anomalous phenomena when just plain experimental physics will do a better job of explaining the events measured. Neither does the author intend to invoke one of the standard dictionary descriptions as, quote, the movement of objects or elementary particles from one place to another more or less instantaneously without traveling through space. The method to be discussed here uses both time and space in a very normal way. The description of the method used in this writing will also be done without the notions becoming entangled in the usual quantum physics entanglement world. The method being described is straightforward teleportation using the ability of EVOs to effectively encapsulate nucleons in their structure and transport them through physical barriers by a gross reduction of the overall expressed charge. That was a mouthful. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Method. All right. Scope of this writing. Although this basic transport process, transport phenomenon, I could show you the book on that. Transport process has been known and used by the author for many years by very selective loading of specific nucleons into EVOs and projecting them controllably. The only proof of materials teleported other than electrons comprising the EVO itself are isolated nucleons. All right, so you're teleporting your electrons and nucleons. All right, the efficiency of the process is approximately one nucleon per femtojoule of input power. Wow, that's great. No examples of higher order materials or molecular structures have been verified, and the isolation nucleon work is not published. The main purpose of this writing is to introduce the large scale work done by Yurtskov, Yurtskov, LI, and Lixanov, VI, of RECOM, RRC, Kurchatov Institute, Moscow. That's a mouthful. Shikinskaya.
Yeah, you
This is
just answer the way you can, and we know that we can see the word.
yeah. So this is the reference, and it's interesting that it's Moscow. So this is certainly some hidden math. And he's this guy is absolutely brilliant that he actually knows some of these conversions of that. But anyway, there's email, there's fax information. It's worth reaching out to. In any case, the title of this paper is, quote, Observation of Transformation of Chemical Elements During Electric Discharge. The paper can be downloaded from, there's an address given. By such an introduction, those interested in this form of teleportation can become aware of the larger scale of the process instead of only doing the small scale work of Shoulders, which operates at a single EVO level for greater clarity in the understanding of the process involved. So that's interesting. So basically, Shoulders is basically telling you the science of how it works. But this institute, it sounds like they got even higher applications of this concept already, which I think we already knew that. But anyway, brief description of Russian work. A capacitor having several thousand joules of stored energy was discharged into a foil of metal, typically titanium, immersed in water contained in a vessel with a polyethylene cover. The ensuing discharge was found to produce transmuted products in the water that could be analyzed by conventional methods. In addition, plasma-like ball of light was seen to arise from the insulated top of the vessel that persisted for long after the discharge current subsided. This ball of light was likened to ball lightning by the authors of the paper. Right, there's that ball lightning again. It comes up. A spectral analysis was made of the light coming from the ball, and it revealed that the constituents within produced Constituents within produced approximately the same transmuted species that were found in the water withdrawn from within the vessel and tested by various means. The simple explanation that the water somehow leaked of the dielectric cover and became ionized was discarded. Many of the tests was discarded due to many of the tests made. After a period of time, as revealed by a fast framing camera, the ball was sometimes seen to break down into a shower-like explosion. By the way, Russell Meyer already did this. He did plenty of experiments, by the way, in glass and transmuted stuff. Interpretation by Shoulders. Having experienced this basic process of nuclear entrainment in EVOs and witnessed them being transported to unlikely places, it is not so hard to see the process described by the Russian authors is a very real example of teleportation of matter through the cover of the experiment. The apparatus used by them was not intended to produce such effects. Hence, it was not optimized for teleportation, but it does show the possibility of operating the process at a moderately large size. This is commendable accomplishment that should be encouraged, as further work is likely to lead to a configuration capable of greater utility. This is, oh my God, this is really inspiring. It's like bringing through a lot of stuff that's already been thinking about. All right. Should I keep reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha.
All right. Large-scale propulsion using EVOs can show. This is the abstract. A propulsion method based on the use of exotic vacuum objects is proposed that is potentially capable of passive and controlled lifting of many tons of material against the gravitational field of the Earth per ounce of propulsion apparatus used. Wow. The underlying technology, the containment of electrons in fluid form, is also the root process for the very economical generation of electrical power. Electrons in fluid form, aka EVOs. All right, about this writing. This is a very speculative writing combining previous notes on closely related subjects. Still, the data used is based on factual experimental evidence. Although not pure fiction, the statements made are enormous extensions of the basic data, and no warranty is given for the validity of the extensions. The claims made are simply logical inferences of the basic measurements that are designed to foreshorten the time to practical application. Before attempting to decipher this note, the previous writings of Shoulders should be assimilated by anyone seriously interested in the subject, as previously published data are not repeated here. Gravity propulsion electrical equivalence. Controllable propulsion is the functional equivalent of anti-gravity in that it allows for the nullification of gravitational effects near planetary objects and in space. At the level of basic technology discussed here, there is a strong affinity between the engineering aspects of propulsion, anti-gravity, and electrical energy production. These appear as just slight variations on the same basic theme in an engineering sense, and their elements coexist harmoniously. The technology being introduced here reinforces this assertion. As used in this discussion, a propulsion device is any closed dielectric container, like a cube or sphere, filled with electrons having the properties of EVOs. On 6 sides of the dielectric container, there are conductive electrodes applied to the outside for application of control signals. That is so cool. I remember making a Metatron's Cube 6. The force exerted by the contained EVOs is in the direction of the externally applied positive field. The charge action is similar to more familiar polarization effects, but using the peculiar properties attributed to EVO for thrust production. You're making your mirrors out of barium titanate, by the way, I can tell you that. But anyway, for electrical power generation, the dielectric container is completely filled, and the contained EVOs are free to move. These freely moving EVOs are driven in a sloshing mode using the external electrodes in a regenerative fashion to both apply and extract the alternating currents generated by the physical motion of electrons within the container. Safety. As alluded to in earlier writings, a collection of EVOs represents a potential bomb of enormous power. It is necessary to prevent a runaway deconsolidation of the electronic fluid contained and keeping the excitation or trigger level below 2 kiloelectron volts can possibly do this. Observing the energy level of electrons ejected from EVOs is an assessment means for this critical level. Below a certain level of excitation, black EVOs still exist and operate in obscurity, while above this critical level, the white EVOs come into play by ejecting 2 kiloelectron volt electrons. After a short time of low excitation, the black state returns as a rest state to individual excited EVOs, but this would not likely happen to a large group. Instead, a chain reaction or explosion would almost certainly occur. Since there have been no large groups of EVOs traps, the above simplistic conjecture about safety is likely wrong. Large group behavior could be far different. So this is to be explored, but you have to be careful. Large group behavior could be far different from individual EVOs observed, and those safety concerns still lie ahead. Thrust generation. The proposed thrust generated by a large group of EVOs is scaled up from measurements of individual EVOs in the diametrical size range of 20 micrometers. Thus, when a square inch of thrust is being discussed, it is the concerted equivalent effort of about 1,500,000 individual EVOs on the container wall. Good conversion. In fact, it is not yet known with what the electron fluid properties will be, and it could vary from granular to homogeneous. Still, at this point, the action of an individual EVO will be used as the basis for computation, as that is all that is available. Brendan, can you, I don't know if it's in the notes already, but I need to copy this. I need to stew over this thing. This is a great paper.
I sent
Anyway.
it by email. It should have got an email to the
Right,
Sunday
well,
group.
I'll look. I didn't have a chance to read it. All right, let me continue here. It is now necessary to attend the properties of dielectric container material in the presence of EVOs to access potential sources of damage to this all-important spacer and force transmitting material between EVOs and the vehicle framework. It is not known what the optimum container deployment strategy is. It could be either a single propulsion container or an array of many similar ones. Whatever the outcome of the request is, mechanical and electrical limitations can still be expressed in normal engineering terms. Insofar dielectric breakdown goes, it has consistently been seen that dynamic EVOs do not harm dielectrics. Indeed, there are many mysteries as to why breakdown does occur when it seems fundamentally necessary from ordinary considerations. Most of these concerns have been tossed off as due to the short engagement time between EVO and any particular dielectric area. This will not be the case in upcoming devices and is an area of concern. As vengeful as EVOs are against metals and semiconductors, they are the model of decorum in the presence of dielectrics. That's such a cool statement. So I'm just thinking of like Bob Hutchins and stuff and just forces just tearing stuff apart. So it sounds like, and I didn't realize this, as vengeful as EVOs are against metals and semiconductors, they really, in one instance, a layer of epoxy cement, not more than 1,000 atoms thick, between a semiconductor being bored by EVO action and metal target completely reflected the EVO and its load of electrons and neutrals without apparent damage to the dielectric. All that is needed to do this for the dielectric to be free of holes capable of electron passage. One possible contributing factor to the many cases of high dielectric strength seen is that EVO is tightly holding onto its electrons, thus preventing them from becoming leaders in a hole boring operation through the dielectric. This is Bob Grenier's work all over. He's showing how that the past they tear through. Anyway, under good dielectric operating conditions, the compression strength limit of the dielectric material, usually in the range of 200,000 pounds per square inch, becomes the apparent load carrying limit between the EVO ensemble and the vehicle. If this is the case, then a propulsion unit with an area of 1 square inch could transmit 200,000 pounds of force in any direction commanded to a vehicle. This force should be generated. This force would be generated and maintained under static conditions using UVO control parameters without any input power. Changing the thrust vector would require whatever reactive power was dissipated across the dielectric in order to convey the control fields. This is certainly a trivial power input. The force attributed to a single EVO exerted against a target far exceeds the strength of the best known materials. This is seen both as the ability to easily bore holes through the material and to hurl it against a similar material, puncturing holes in it and embedding the primary material. Under these conditions, it is assumed that the force available for propulsion is still limited to the above cited 200,000 pounds per square inch. Comments on system behavior. In the system proposed here, there is no mass thrown overboard, and the lifetime would seem infinite, virtually infinite, as long as physical integrity is preserved. In the absence of friction from moving parts, maintenance is minimal. Factually, in the matter of lifetime, there would be myriad new effects to consider that are far beyond our comprehension at this point. We will just have to wait and see what happens in real systems. The achievable velocity of such a propulsion system would seem to be near light speed, except for the hulk of ordinary material used as a platform. It would not surprise the author if ways were soon found around this limitation. At least for the meanwhile, such a propulsion system would vastly improve present earthbound and near planet transportation.
Hey, well done, Michael.
Yeah, that was really good stuff.
Yeah, that's quite the statement. 200,000 pounds per square inch is a lot of
Got a couple
force.
good conversions in there, and
That's
virtually free.
So we can talk about it, ask questions, answer questions, or we can end the recording in a moment. What do you want to do?
Does anybody have any comments they want to add?
You need to build this thing.
I put up a video of I put up a
I need
video.
to start building my spaceship out back. I'll let you know when it's all done.
Yeah.
I put up a video the other week on EVOs. You know, I did a Zoom session where I just me on the Zoom, and I read out from the EVO text that I'd done with ChatGPT AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, you know, what it's saying about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's
This
got anyway. Go on, Eddie.
Well, the one thing I guess I will call out, because that was so much that, I mean, I hadn't read that in advance, but there's been times in the past where I've had just like, just these super inspiring thoughts, but like it's almost like you had a glimpse of some future state. It's like a little kid with their imagination goes crazy. But anyway, they mentioned a sixth face. I don't know if you can bring the article back up and go like midway through. It talked about a sixth face thing that had to capture it. And this is the same thing Tom Bearden says with pump face, conjugate mirrors. And really, reality, there's six faces to reality. And people have, they don't quite wrap their heads around that. You have free space and free time. Everything that can happen in this universe has happened or will happen and has already happened all the time. And you can consolidate back and forth. So basically what he's talking about is controlling the sixth space of time. And that's some of the information that's been suppressed. And when I give one of these presentations, I like to talk about the real math. But a lot of this, he's interested in talking about how his device looked with just simple polyethylene cover. I mean, it's literally how you generate like life. If you make a little polyethylene, which is Solex panels, are some of the best stuff you can do for like a house.
Michael,
Basically you just have. Sorry.
Where do you want me to go to in the text?
Oh, sorry, I'm rambling at this point. There was a spot in there. The kill electron volts are interesting, but there was a statement. You don't have to find it, but there was a statement. I'll find it next time where he talks about the six phases of reflecting back to make it like it's. He left enough clues on how to build a device. All these guys have. I mean, if you listen to, I like watching John Bedini videos. Like he's got his Tesla switches and stuff like that. I mean, all this stuff. It's how you make the device. I mean, so in any case, it's really good information.
Yeah, we use EVOs to clutch the ether essentially to draw work off of them. All right. Well, if anybody doesn't have any more comments, we can stop the recording, Brandon. We can,
Yo, okay, okay. Well done, Michael, and everyone else. And
yeah,
thank you very
thank you.
much, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.